Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Kelly. So, back in October, we had a segment here on this show where I went over the prospects and I did a little bit of a notable performances for October of 2022 when it came to the prospect watch of the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, on tonight's episode of Vegas Hockey Hub, we're going to do something very similar, but with a twist. Not only am I going to spotlight two players from the Henderson Silver Knights, two players from the Savannah Ghost Pirates, but thanks to my recent, thanks to a recent performance that I saw in person with UNLV Skating Rebels, there's going to be a player that I'm going to be spotlighting as part of tonight's prospect watch. So for tonight's episode, it's going to be two people from Henderson, two people from Savannah, and one from UNLV hockey. Now, getting into this part of it, we have to go over to Henderson, to the Dollar Loan Center, and the Henderson Silver Knights. And the first person we're going to be talking about today is Daniil Miromenov, who has been a vital part of the Henderson Silver Knights and has been someone who Vegas Golden Knights fans would know. They spent a little short cup of coffee with the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, Daniil Miromenov, he has been an interesting player because not only has he been in the ECHL, the KMJHL, the VHL, the KHL, he has been a guy who, at 25 years old, has played in both of the major professional hockey leagues. He is also a guy who, over the last 5 seasons, has played all over the world. He has played up in Canada, he's played up in Russia, he has played in the Czech Republic. This is a guy who has been battle tested. He is a player who has been, hard and bruised and tested, but he has been a guy who has shown his talent year in and year out. For example, he's spent a few seasons playing in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, and when he played for the Wildcats, he played for the Titans, his statistics were interesting. In 2015-2016, he had 22 goals, 42 points in 64 games while playing in the QMJHL. There's also the same guy who then followed that up with a year 2 performance, having 22 goals but 62 points in 68 games, almost averaging a point per game. So after that season in 2017-2018, he goes to the KHL. He goes to Russia, and he plays for the HK Sochi. And in 15 games, has a -2, 2 penalty minutes, but he's getting experience, right? He's getting experience playing in the KHL, playing in a Premier League out there in hockey. So following that up, in 2018-2019, he goes to the ECHL, and he joins the Manchester Monarchs. Now, the Manchester Monarchs is interesting because of who is their NHL affiliate. Their NHL affiliate is the Los Angeles Kings. In fact, it's been their affiliate for a long time. But in that 2018-2019 season, Daniil Miromenov had 40 points in 49 games and a +15. So for a guy who's only 23 years old to be in the ECHL, have 40 points in 49 games, Daniil Miromenov showed his talent in that one season in the ECHL, AA hockey, the ECHL. So after that one season playing for the Los Angeles Kings AA affiliate, he goes back to Russia and he plays in the VHL for the SKA Neva St. Petersburg. And he has 22 points, 9 goals in 43 games with a +20. He also appears in the playoffs that year as a trio of assists, trio of points, and a +2 in 9 playoff games. Now, where this story really kicks off with Daniil Miromanov is in 2019, he makes a move with the Vegas Golden Knights. What ends up happening is that the Vegas Golden Knights end up signing Daniil. And they end up making this transaction where he ends up being part of the Vegas Golden Knights organization. They sign him to a deal, and it was an interesting deal because they end up signing him to an entry-level deal. And after having a 29-point season in the KHL for HK Sochi, he has a 11-game performance with the Henderson Silver Knights. He puts up 2 points and a +1 in that 11-game shortened season. But the talent was there. And if you had watched Daniil Miromanov during those 11 games he played in Henderson, he showed on the ice his hockey IQ, his puck possession. He really didn't turn over the puck that much. He was a guy who showed his talent in the AHL. In a AAA hockey league at the age of 24, Daniil Miromanov was able to prove to Vegas, able to prove to Henderson and to the scouting department that he was ready to make a jump to the NHL. Now, in 2021-2022, he played in 11 games for the Vegas Golden Knights. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for the injury-riddled season that Vegas had, he probably wouldn't have played 11 games. But this is the NHL. Stuff happens. You got to be the next man up. So in those 11 games, he only had 1 point. He only had 2 penalty minutes. So what was so appealing about Daniil Miromanov? Well, what it was is that you had to watch him play. If you watch him play his shifts in Vegas, his presence on the back end, he was a defenseman who was able to play his game, and he was a defenseman who played his game the way you're supposed to. The way he played hockey, his visual, his presence, his peripheral, his vision with hockey, he was incredible. This guy played defense at 24 years old. It felt like he had been playing for 8 years. The way he presented himself and the way that he played for the Vegas Golden Knights. So those 11 games in Vegas only had 1 point, but it wasn't about the statistics. It was about the eye test. And his eye test showed that he could play in the NHL. He could be a vital part of Vegas in the long-term future. Now, back to the AHL part, because 11 goals, 40 points in 53 games, he provided his worth. He provided a lot of good value to Henderson in the AHL. Having a +11 also came a long way. He also had some opportunities to drop the gloves, too. 30 penalty minutes with Henderson. So Daniil Miromanov was a guy who in the AHL provided value. In the NHL provided value. And that's really the part I want to focus on. Because his value in Vegas is also him getting called up and getting called down repeatedly last season. Him being on taxi squad at some point provided value. Because Vegas trusted him enough that if they needed a defenseman last minute, and Zach Whitecloud gets injured, they called him. If Brayden McNabb went down, he took his place. If Ben Hutton was scratched out of the lineup, they would have him take his place. His value with Vegas was how reliable and how durable Daniil Miromanov is. So, the reason why I wanted to spotlight him first is because of what he has done in the first 10 games out in Henderson. You know, I went out to the Dollar Loan Center in Henderson. I sat back and I watched a game in Henderson. They took on San Jose. And he was a bright spot on that defense. As a matter of fact, he was someone who outside of Brendan Bryson and someone I'm going to talk about in just a minute, he was a player that you had to watch when he was on the ice. When his shift came on and he jumped over and he was on the ice, you had to pay attention to Daniil Miromanov because his presence on the ice was shown. So the first part about Daniil Miromanov, my argument to you would be the reason why he is someone you have to watch as a prospect is because at 25 years old, he has played in 5 different leagues. He has played in the KHL, ECHL, AHL, EHL. Daniil Miromanov at 25 years old has played in so many games already that he is an experienced prospect by this. He is a ready prospect. And he is someone that the Vegas Golden Knights, if they need to call somebody up, he will be one of their first choices. If the Vegas Golden Knights have an injury, if something bad happens on the defense in the NHL, Daniil Miromanov will be one of their first choices out there. Now, the second player out in Henderson that I'm going to be spotlighting, as you're seeing Daniil Miromanov playing in Vegas. The second player that I'm spotlighting is defenseman Lucas Cormier. Now, Lucas Cormier was taken in the 3rd round of the 2020 NHL draft by the Vegas Golden Knights. It's also the same Lucas Cormier, who at 20 years old is the 2nd-ranked prospect for the Vegas Golden Knights. This is a guy who is ranked right behind Brendan Bryson as the best prospect the Vegas Golden Knights have. He is 2nd, Hayden Korczak is 3rd, Brendan Bryson is 1st. So for a guy who is the 2nd-ranked prospect for the Vegas Golden Knights, what is his value? What has he brought to Vegas? In order to do that, you have to go back and compare his 4 seasons playing in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League for the Charlottetown Islanders. Now, Charlottetown, in his 4 seasons, 2018-2019, had 15 goals, 21 assists, in 63 games that season. He also had a plus 24 and 46 penalty minutes. So he had a pretty good year 1. Year 2, only 6 goals in 44 games, but had the same amount of points and actually had less penalty minutes during that campaign. Year 3, in 2020-2021, he had a 54-point performance in 39 games that year. He also had a plus 35 as a defenseman and had 36 penalty minutes. So Lucas Cormier in year 3 in the KMJHL had 54 points in that 39 games there. He also had 9 points in 8 playoff games in that same season. So his playoff performance was his regular season performance was good, but his last season in Charlotte is what caught the attention of not just me, but most likely caught the attention of the scouting department and the Vegas Golden Knights for this season. In the 2021-2022 season, the Charlottetown Islanders of the KMJHL, Lucas Cormier had 48 assists, 81 points in 62 games. Once again, 81 points in 62 games. He had a plus 40 as a defenseman. He also racked up 60 penalty minutes, by the way. And then when they got to the playoffs in the KMJHL, he had 21 points, 8 of them goals, in 15 playoff games. He also had a plus 13 and 14 penalty minutes. So Lucas Cormier had an exceptional final year at juniors for the Charlottetown Islanders. He had an amazing stat line in the KMJHL. But what mattered is what happened when he got to the World Junior Championships for Canada because he had gotten selected to the World Junior Classic under-20 team for Canada. Well, in 7 games, he had 5 points, 1 goal, and a +2. And I actually got to watch some of those World Junior Championships because they had live streams and everything. And he was a guy who did a lot for Canada in that World Junior Championships. In fact, he was someone who was on the ice a lot during that World Junior Champions under-20 team. So he had a good World Junior Championship. He had a phenomenal 4 years for the Charlottetown Islanders. So he has proved that in 2 separate occasions, he can provide value to your organization. So fast forward to the 2022-2023 season. In his first professional season playing professional hockey, he has had 4 points in the first 10 games in Henderson. Now, I'm going to go back to that game that I went to against San Jose. I was at the Dollar Loan Center at the Henderson Silver Knights facility. I was eating some popcorn, eating a hot dog, drinking some, having something to drink. And Lucas Cormier always had my attention when he was on the ice. What he did in Henderson on almost every shift was show why he's a number 2 prospect in Vegas. His puck handling ability, the way that he played the game defensively was exceptional. I also want to point out that he laid back a lot. This was a guy, Lucas Cormier, that you did not see do a lot of turnovers on the back end. So Lucas Cormier, as a number 2 prospect in the Vegas Golden Knights farm system, just watching him play in Henderson was exceptional. And if I had to say, by next year, 2024, I will not be surprised if Lucas Cormier is playing for the Vegas Golden Knights. If at 21 years old, he does not play 5 or 6 games, he does not get a little bit of a taste in the NHL. Because what we have seen in Henderson is that he can be a valuable asset on the blue line. So just like Daniil Myromanov and how he can be an asset in the NHL this season, next season, expect this 21-year-old to get a few games in for Vegas. So those are the 2 players in the AHL. Now, we're going to transition over to the Savannah Ghost Pirates and talk about Patrick Gay. Now, he is a 5th-round pick in the 2022 NHL draft. He was selected by Vegas, and people noticed. As a matter of fact, majority of the NHL draft reports in the later rounds, he was on a huge spotlight for majority of these draft boards. In fact, some people thought it was unfair that the Vegas Golden Knights in the 5th round took Patrick Gay from the Charlottetown Islanders. As a matter of fact, when I read out his stat sheet, it will really explain why some people had a problem with him dropping to the 5th round and being taken by Vegas. Now, keep in mind that this guy currently is 20 years old, playing in the ECHL, as he turned 20 just a couple months ago. So, in his 2 seasons playing in the KMJHL Charlottetown Islanders, his first season he had 22 points in 23 games, averaging a point per game. But in the 2021-2022 season, he had 55 goals, 49 assists, 104 points in 68 games. Yeah, that's right. 104 points in 68 games. He also had a plus 53. Well, how do you do in the playoffs? Because, by the way, Patrick Gay and Lucas Cormier were on the same team. That's also why I wanted to combine them together. They were both playing for Charlottetown last year now part of the Vegas Golden Knights organization. Well, in 15 playoff games, he had 13 goals, 28 points, and a +9. He nearly averaged a goal per game in the KMJHL playoffs last year. Well, here's the thing, Ian. How is he doing in his first professional season for the Vegas Golden Knights? How is he doing with the Savannah Ghost Pirates of the ECHL? Well, I'm just going to let the stats show for yourself. He has already had 6 goals, 7 assists, 13 points in 9 games in the ECHL. Now, for anyone who knows how to do simple mathematics, that means that he would be on pace, because it's a 72-game season in the ECHL. 13 points in 9 games. He is on pace to score 48 goals and 104 points this season for the Savannah Ghost Pirates. If he continues that pace and that momentum in the ECHL, not only am I confident that he would get a call to the AHL at some point, I also believe that his performance should get the attention of the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, how could a guy with 104 points scored in juniors last year and someone who's on pace to score 104 points this season in AA, why would he not get attention from the NHL? So, when it comes to Patrick Gay, him having 6 goals and 13 points in the first 9 games, all it tells me is that he's going to get an opportunity in the NHL at some point. Or, at the very least, going to get a call up to the AHL at some point this season. Because his talent and his production in the ECHL is too good not to get a cup of coffee in Henderson. So watch out for him and watch out for his performance. Because scoring 13 points in the first 9 games is a value that the Vegas Golden Knights could use in Henderson in the back end of the season. So he was the first guy. Now the second one is Daniel D'Amato. Now Daniel D'Amato is actually 1 year older than Patrick Gay. And when it comes to Daniel D'Amato, he is someone that actually has played a few games in Henderson before. Matter of fact, he played a cup of coffee in the Henderson Silver Knights organization last season. So a 21-year-old from Ontario, he spent 4 seasons with the Erie Otters and actually spent the last season as their captain and had 63 points in 63 games in the 2021-2022 season. Now, after being undrafted, Daniel D'Amato played 5 games in Henderson and had 3 points, 1 goal, 4 perfect minutes, and a +1 in Henderson. Well, how did he do this season in the ECHL? How has he done in the first 9 games of the ECHL, Daniel D'Amato? Well, Daniel D'Amato has had 2 goals, 7 assists in the first 9 games. Now, keep in mind, he kept up this pace for a full 72-game season. He would score 16 goals and 72 points this year. So for a 21-year-old who's already played in the AHL, playing in the ECHL right now, I'm going to put him in the same situation as I put Patrick Guy. I put them in the same situation where they should get a cup of coffee in the AHL. They should play a few games in Henderson at some point this season. Their talent and their production level is too good to stay in the ECHL for the entire 72-game season. So, when it comes to Patrick Gay and when it comes to Daniel D'Amato, I look at them as a bright spot in the ECHL. I see those 2 players as 2 future members of the Henderson Silver Knights at some point in 2022 or at some point in 2023. Their talent and their production and their value has been too good to stay in the ECHL long term. Now, I know that we normally focus on Savannah. I know we normally focus on Henderson. So before we get to UNLV, all right, before we get to UNLV, I just want to very quickly go over what's going on in Henderson and what's going on in Savannah. Because the Henderson Silver Knights, right now with a record of 3-10, they are currently in a series with the Tucson Roadrunners that are going to have back-to-back games on the 15th and the 16th. And then they're going to return home to Henderson, to the Dollar Loan Center, Saturday, November 19th, taking on the Los Angeles Kings and the Ontario region at 3 o'clock. So, on Saturday, November 19th, if you can go to the game, I highly recommend going to the Dollar Loan Center in Henderson, Nevada, and watching the LA Kings affiliate, Ontario Reign, take on the Vegas Golden Knights affiliate, Henderson Silver Knights. And then for the Savannah Ghost Pirates, their season so far has been interesting. Now, their season has had some up and downs, but for the most part, this is an organization that has been doing pretty good up to this point. So, their schedule for the Savannah Ghost Pirates, their next upcoming games, they're going to be at home taking on the Orlando Solar Bears, the affiliate of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then the Jacksonville Icemen immediately after on that following Saturday. So, we're now going to get into the UNLV Rebels hockey because there is one player that I have been noticing. There is one player that caught my eye when I went to a UNLV Rebels hockey game very recently. Now, to give you some context, there was a Saturday where the UNLV Rebels were playing at City National Arena. They were taking on the Arizona State Sun Devils, and it was a fantastic game. UNLV hockey, they had a lot of energy. They had a lot of entertaining situations. There was some pushing back and forth. But what mainly happened for UNLV was they dominated offensively. UNLV Rebels hockey, they got out to a commanding lead early. Like in the first period, they were already up by 4 goals. And one of those guys that helped them win against the Arizona State Sun Devils was that guy right there, Cole Wyatt. Now, Cole Wyatt has had 4 goals and 11 points this season. This is coming off 31 performance last year for UNLV. And what I've seen from Cole Wyatt is a guy who is calm and cool under pressure. Cole Wyatt, when he has the stick, he is a guy who knows where it's going. All right, doesn't matter if he's dumping and chasing, doesn't matter if he's passing the puck to his teammates. Regardless of the situation, he is in control majority of the time when he has that puck on his stick. So Cole Wyatt is someone I wanted to point out for UNLV, because when I watched Arizona State and UNLV play at City National Arena, he was a player that caught my attention every time he was on the ice. When the UNLV Rebels were on the offense and they had some breakaways, they had some 2-on-1, 3-on-1 opportunities. When Cole Wyatt had the puck on his stick, he was a person you had to watch out for, because a lot of times he was putting the puck exactly where it needed to be and was creating opportunities for his teammates. So, wanted to give a shout out to Cole Wyatt because he caught my attention. He was a prospect you need to watch for the UNLV Rebels. And hopefully the 22-year-old gets an opportunity to play professional hockey, because this guy has been good for UNLV. So this is Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. And that was another amazing episode of Vegas Hockey Hub. Until next time, follow us on social media at Vegas Hockey Hub. Follow the show at hashtag Vegas Hockey Hub. And follow your host at Ian Rickelli18. So until next time, support junior hockey. Go Knights, go!